Friday, January the 27th, 2017, and this is your Barbados Today Evening Update. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news at this hour, the Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Dr. Delisle Worrell, is assuring the country that the engines of growth are turning well. Delivering the feature address at the Dighton Griffiths Secondary School Speech Day this morning, Dr. Worrell identified tourism, business and financial services, and rum and chemical exports as those engines which make significant contributions to the foreign exchange earnings.
These three foreign exchange sectors are the engines that power the growth of our economy. And their strength is the reason we are confident that growth prospects are good. Our tourism is the most competitive in the Caribbean and the seventh in all of the Americas after the US, Canada, Brazil, Mexico, and Africa. There are only 6 countries in the whole of the Americas that are more competitive than Barbados, and they're all hugely bigger than Europe.
And principal of the Dighton Griffiths Secondary School, Anthony Allen, calls for early intervention to save at-risk students from reaching prison. Allen suggests that a fraction of the approximate $9.6 million spent to maintain the prison population annually could help fund life-saving programs for vulnerable young people.
Just imagine if we could take a fraction of this money and use it for earlier intervention. Social counseling and lifestyle programs which may save some of these same students from ever reaching the point where we have to pay that $34 every day for them. The question is not when we need to do this, but I think the same how much longer will we wait.
The island's more than 200 fire officers are upset at the treatment being meted out to them by authorities when it comes to their safety on the job. Chairman of the Barbados Fire Officers Association, Corey Bridgman, told a poorly attended annual general meeting at Solidarity House this morning that members have had enough of situations where they fight fires and conduct rescues without proper tools and training.
More and more high-rise buildings are being constructed, which poses new challenges for our members, and our major differences are major differences in high-rise firefighting then, which prove or show tremendous challenges which we are not accustomed to. So, to effectively perform our duty, we are asking for more training as it relates to this issue.
The annual general meeting never really got off the ground as planned after fewer than 15 officers turned up. It was reported that featured Speaker Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite was called away to attend another matter of state. One of Donald Trump's first executive orders has put a major program of a leading Barbadian non-governmental agency in jeopardy. Executive Director of the Barbados Family Planning Association, Juliet Bino-Sutherland, tells Barbados Today its specialized HIV/AIDS outreach project, which benefits from a $650,000 one-year grant of U.S. government money, was in danger of being ground to a halt. She said it's because President Trump's order puts a ban on federal funding to international NGOs which offer abortion and HIV/AIDS services.
We were using U.S. government funding to help build our community-based program, our outreach with communities most at risk for HIV, men who have sex with men, sex workers, and high-risk groups. So what has essentially happened, the order has placed in danger our ability to fund this important community work. It is perhaps an unintended consequence by the U.S. administration, but it is a consequence nonetheless because Barbados Family Planning is unable to sign any pledge that is not going to offer information, advice, services in relation to abortion.
In sports now, England have named an unchanged squad minus the injured Alex Haley's for March's one-day international series in the West Indies. Opener Haley's fractured a hand as England lost 2-0 in their series in India earlier this month. England will play 2 matches in Antigua with a third in Barbados before the teams face each other again in England in the summer.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Get your paper, get your paper. Only $2.25, $2.20. Who? For what? That's Bear Stare News. I don't read about that from Barbados today since last night. That can't only can't do. $2.20. Who?
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General says more than 300 entities have been listed in that country as terrorist entities. The news comes as government pursues so-called Explain Your Wealth legislation. The move is meant to clear the way for several matters to go before the courts related to the financing of terrorism abroad, even as 8 TNT nationals remain detained in Turkey. Joel Brown reports.
Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi tells the TV6 News via telephone that the number of terrorist entities listed in Trinidad and Tobago has increased from 80 to 333 in 5 months. This is based on a United Nations Security Council sanctions list and other listings.
If you want to prosecute in Trinidad and Tobago, you have to have covered all of those bases already. So you've got to list ISIS, list Boko Haram, list all of these entities as entities under our anti-terrorism law. The 333 entities listed includes locals, and we have about 9 more on the table to come to court right now, which will be very specific listings. We're working with our international partners on some very pinpointed local involvement, and that will be coming before the courts quite shortly as well.
The AG said part of the matters set to go before the local courts are related to the Financial Intelligence Unit's report that stated that from 2015 to 2016, 182 Trinidad and Tobago nationals were suspected of involvement in the financing of terrorist activities.
In more regional news, the Inter-American Development Bank has told the Guyana government it won't be giving it any money to fund what the country's Attorney General calls a dysfunctional judicial system where a backlog of cases continue to pile up.
The IDB has said to me that they would find it difficult to give me any money to deal with any question of removing the backlog of cases, because they give a lot of money to wipe out the backlog of cases. And you know from your last release what is the state with the cases.
Due to the continuing pileup of cases, a sum of $49,020 had been budgeted to hire part-time judges for 6 months with assistance from the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB. However, according to the Attorney General, the present administration is seeking to improve the system single-handedly.
Everything was dysfunctional under the last government. So I don't know how the leader of the opposition could really have the temerity to attack this government, which is on the path of correcting all of those deficiencies.
And on the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump says he will not have the last say on his controversial views that torture works. Speaking at a joint news conference today after meeting with British Prime Minister Theresa May at the White House, Trump pledged to allow his new defense secretary to override him on any decision regarding this issue.
We have a great general who has just been appointed Secretary of Defense, General James Mattis, and he has stated publicly that he does not necessarily believe in torture or waterboarding, or however you want to define it. Enhanced interrogation, I guess, would be a word that a lot of people would like to use. I don't necessarily agree, but I would tell you that he will override because I'm giving him that power. He's an expert. He's highly respected. He's the general's general. Got through the Senate very, very quickly, which in this country is not easy, I will tell you. And so I'm going to rely on him. I happen to feel that it does work. I've been open about that for a long period of time. But I am going with our leaders.
And that's news and sports. But for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper email updates and like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, our screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Channel 99 on Flow TV and Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic weekend.